area. There's a couple things I suggest for women in through the area of the yoni, and one is using something that is a oil, if you're going to use oil, that brings balance, that's not going to throw off your pH. The yoni is naturally acidic, and that helps to ward off infection, actually. So the yoni is very much self-cleaning. So in that way, this is often when people misunderstand why we do abhyanga, or why we, for example, do things like what we call yoni prakshalana, so a cleansing of the yoni, which may be water washing of the yoni, or we do things like yoni steam, yoni swedana, or we also do things like yoni pichu, which is actually an oil insert into the yoni. If there's a misunderstanding of Ayurveda, then I will often hear things like, oh, well, the yoni's self-cleaning, you don't need to do anything. And absolutely, the yoni is self-cleaning, but when there is imbalance, when we are having dis-ease of that space, then there are ways that we can bring it back to balance. And it's not that we have to use these things all the time, but we can absolutely use them medicinally to help us both preventatively, but also help us to bring and restore balance into the area. So massage is especially wonderful with an oil that honors the natural pH of the yoni. And that's why at Rasa I formulated an oil called our Sacred Yoni Elixir. And the Sacred Yoni Elixir borrows and draws from traditional oils that have been used to help to bring balance to the yoni, either as a yoni insert. So when I say yoni, I mean the vagina. So a yoni pichu, an insert that helps to bathe the area in oil. Many of you are going, oh, that sounds and sounds like it would feel so good. Especially postmenopausally, for many of us, there can be dryness that starts to enter in. This is a wonderful practice, actually, to bathe and to inundate the area with oil. But for us, whether it's daily, if we're dealing with pain and discomfort, or it's a couple times a week, giving a massage to the area with our Sacred Yoni Elixir. I'm seeing if I brought it here. Yeah, so this is the Sacred Yoni Elixir. And this one, it's a wonderful dropper. It's a beautiful golden color because of the sea buckthorn oil that's in it. It also has shatavari, herbal oil in it, as well as some other oils, such as, for example, even myrrh or tea tree, that help to ward off if we do deal with infectious conditions. But the shatavari is wonderful because it's also estrogenic. I've had women who have been using estrogen either internally, orally, or estrogen suppositories as well, because of post-menopausally dealing with dryness or dealing with discomfort in the area, and amazing testimonials about how this has really helped. So if you deal with chronic pain in that area without any structural issues, just generally giving love through massage, for example, can be a wonderful way. Another way is if we internally deal with into the vaginal, and I'm getting really brash and just open with all of us during this time, but if you deal with pain in through the yoni, like into the vaginal walls or around this area, just generally massaging. The yoni, like our hands and our feet, really is a map of reflexology. And so much of our life has been mapped into the space of our yonis. And so we develop knots, just like you would massage out your shoulder or massage out a place in the body where there is knots or tension. Also in the yoni, we can hold knots and tension, trauma, old emotional holdings, whether that trauma be emotional or physiological or sexual, that can all be held within the yoni. Our cervix, that ending of the yoni, can really hold so much trauma and pain, and it can go or range anywhere from being numb to being very painful as well. So in those cases, just giving ourselves massage, loving attention, can be a beautiful practice for each of us. But this is why also at Rasa we have a couple things that also I'm noticing there's a lot of controversy around these in the world today, and it comes again more from an allopathic kind of aversive, I would say in many ways a lack of recognition of some of these more subtle understandings and energetic understandings. And really what I always share women is, how does it work for you? What's your experience in using some of these things? And when I'm referencing that, what I mean is, for example, we have yoni eggs, or yoni wands rather. These are our yoni wands, and we also have yoni eggs. And these yoni eggs come more from the Taoist tradition rather than the Vedic tradition, but they're beautiful gemstone eggs. I'll show you. We have obsidian and rose quartz in different sizes, as you can see, as well as this is a ethically beautifully mined Canadian nephrite jade as well in different sizes. Those come more from the Taoist, the ancient Chinese medicinal practices. And with experience, truly with experience, you simply see, just like anything you're doing in your life, is there benefit? Is there something that's arising? And I have to say, after working literally with thousands of women, I have seen unbelievable benefits for so many women by using these in the right time in the right place, whether it's the yoni eggs or also, as this woman is beautifully asking so vulnerably, what if there's pain in through the yoni or pain in through the cervix? Using something just like you would use a massage tool onto various areas of the body, we can actually use, this is an obsidian, so it's a wonderful, more non-porous gemstone, and it's wonderful for drawing out any kind of negative energy. Whether that's negative energy, you wear an obsidian pendant onto the heart space, or you use it internally. So even massaging with this in through the area gently, with a little bit of the sacred Yoni Elixir, or if there isn't any challenge with moisture in the area, using this can be a beautiful practice. And many women, when they see it, we say, oh, it's a dildo. Okay, it can be a dildo also. There's nothing wrong with that. So in that way, it can also be a beautiful pleasure tool as well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with pleasure. Actually, kama, or pleasure, is what in Ayurveda and in the Vedas is one of the 4 purushartam. Purushartam mean the 4 fulfillments, the 4 goals of what it is to have a human life. So there is absolutely nothing taboo about pleasure. And it's ridiculous that sexual pleasure or orgasm or any of these things that are entirely natural and part of what it is to be alive have in any way become taboo or demonized. So even this also, if it brings great pleasure, but it can also bring relief of pain. The other way this can be used actually, and I've brought another thing which is called a Kansa Wand. I've brought our Kansa Wand that we use for body. So you can probably see. This is our larger one. So we have a smaller one for the face, but I also suggest using these as well, or using the Yoni wand on the area around. So into the groin, getting it into the space around the groin, down and through the inner thighs, and in through and around into the pelvic floor. That space between the vaginal opening, between the yoni and also the anus, so that whole pelvic floor band, which can hold a lot of tension. Massaging with these can be so wonderful. Also with our hands, and this can be done by yourself or also with a partner. These are beautiful ancient practices that help to not only stimulate but also release tension in that area. So many of us, when we tense in our lives, when there's stress in our lives, and also when we're sedentary, 2 things can happen. So with sedentary lives, we can actually, we often think that everything becomes lax, and it can become lax. But also with sedentary lives, everything can become a little bit atrophied, which means it can develop tightness, dryness, etc. And especially when we have tension and stress, all of our circular muscles are connected, especially the muscles of the vocal cords and the space of the larynx. If you even look at the imagery of the larynx and the vocal cords as it connects also to the yoni and the vulva, you'll see that they're almost like direct mirror images. It's amazing to see anatomically how similar they are. So as we develop tension, and you can feel it even into your jaw, you might develop tension here just as you develop tension into the pelvic floor. And that's why I suggest even using something like the Kansa Wand into the area of that space, or doing things like sounding, releasing, chanting. These are beautiful practices. As you release this whole area, you also help to release the area of the yoni and the pelvic floor. So tension can be held in many ways, and in more holistic medicine such as Ayurveda, we start to look at the relationship between all of these things actually. So those are some practices. I've given you a whole host of them, whether it be steaming or using yoni eggs, using the yoni wand, various things in through the